In just under 3 days' time, we'll know whether this has been the best season in Tottenham's modern history or the worst. I cannot think of another situation like it. Meanwhile, the transfer merry-go-round has already started, with Real Madrid having made their move to take Dean Howson from Bournemouth for £50 million. Where does that leave Christian Romero's dreams of moving to Spain? I'll be discussing that, as well as some massive transfer links to Tottenham and all the latest pre-Europa League final news on today's live daily Tottenham Hotspur news. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please do press that like button. Please do subscribe, of course. But with the transfer window coming, I will start with some transfer talk, because let's face it, if there's going to be any positivity going forward this summer, in the worst case scenario that we do not lift the Europa League trophy on Wednesday night, then it has to be in a transfer rebuild. So let's talk about some transfer rumours. But I want to start, as I mentioned in the thumbnail and in the title. Dean Howson has now gone to Real Madrid, £50 million. They were the first club to come in and pay the release clause. Howson obviously wanted to go there. He was wanted by Spurs, and I think Arsenal and Liverpool and Chelsea were certainly in the running for him as well. However, he's gone to Real Madrid, and of course, Real Madrid were one of the clubs supposedly in for Christian Romero, and that seemingly just leaves Atletico Madrid now as the club, or as a club, sorry, that Christian Romero would like to go to. Now, I do think Atletico Madrid are a club who spend a lot of money on transfer fees. They've certainly bought João Felix a few times for absolutely ridiculous sums. So in terms of Daniel Levy being able to put a sum on Christian Romero's head that a club like Atletico Madrid might come into, I can see that happening. And in fact, Brian Maguire in the comments says he's actually already gone. He's already agreed personal terms with Atletico Madrid. Now, that may well be the case. I don't doubt that Atletico Madrid will have been talking to Christian Romero's people. However, in terms of Daniel Levy having agreed a deal with Atletico Madrid, no, I don't think that will have happened yet. And actually, I don't think that will happen until well into the transfer window. First of all, Daniel Levy will want to see what happens in the Europa League final. He'll want to see whether Christian Romero, if we were to win that final, might have a change of heart and might actually want to lead Spurs into the Champions League next season. Because I also think there's a high chance, and let me know if you agree in the comments, I think there's a high chance that Son Heung-min may be playing his last game ever for Spurs on Wednesday night. I could certainly see him potentially moving to another club in the summer, which would leave a space open for a captain. And Christian Romero, obviously, is the vice captain at the moment, could take that space. So there is definitely the possibility that minds could be changed after Wednesday night if we were to win that trophy. So let me know what you think is going to happen with Christian Romero. I would say I think it's still most likely that it'll leave, but I think Real Madrid, unless they're willing to really go big on reshaping their backline, I don't think it's likely, if they spend £50 million on Dean Howson from Bournemouth, for instance, then Daniel Levy will straight away go, well, Christian Romero has won the World Cup, he's won 2 Copa Americas, and you've just spent £50 million on a kid who's only played 1 Premier League season. So if you want to get Christian Romero, you're going to have to double that. That's probably what he would say to Real Madrid, and there's no way I think Real Madrid would be willing to pay anywhere towards £100 million that Daniel Levy would probably ask for from them. Atletico, though, and Diego Simeone, I do think those links are realistic. And I think maybe Levy would look to get 80 million from them, and maybe they'd do a deal around 70 or 65 with add-ons or something like that. Don't forget that Christian Romero cost us a lot of money when we got him. He was on the books of Juventus, wasn't he? But he'd been on loan at Atalanta. So they're going to look to want to get that money back and more. Okay, more transfer rumours for Spurs this week. Apparently, we're one of a number of Premier League clubs tracking Javi Simons of RB Leipzig. And it's believed that the German club value him, he's 22 years old, at about 80 million euros or 67 million pounds. Spurs apparently looking to bring in one marquee signing this summer. And of course, Champions League football next season will be key in the possibility of that deal progressing. As ever, with everything Tottenham-based at the moment, it all relies on the realities of this Wednesday night. If we can get over the line against Manchester United, it changes the entire summer in terms of the kind of players that we can look to buy. And Javi Simons would be one that we could look towards potentially if we did get that over the line. HMQ says in the comments, we'd need some serious replacements to make Romero stay. David, Eza, and a 6. God, I'd love Eze. He was so good in that cup final. What a brilliant finish that was. And he's just a fantastic player. Let's talk a bit more about Javi Simons, though. He's emerging as one of Europe's most sought after talents. He is just 22, as I mentioned. He's contributed 10 goals and 7 assists across all competitions last season, or this current season, sorry, showcasing his versatility and creativity. Leipzig have not qualified for European competitions, so that does up the chances of him moving clubs. However, he's actually, let me know in the comments if you know this. Is he still on loan at Leipzig from PSG? Or did they do a deal last summer and therefore he's available? I think they did a deal last summer. He was on loan at Leipzig initially, and then PSG did sell him to Leipzig. And that's why they've set an asking price of 80 million euros to try and make a profit on that fee. He developed at Barcelona's La Masia academy, and like I said, was on loan at was at PSG and at PSV Eindhoven. He played for PSV Eindhoven as well. He's technically skilled. Tactical awareness is good, and be interesting to see whether he is a possibility for Tottenham Hotspur. Alex Donwell says they signed Javi in the transfer window, in the winter window. So he's an interesting talent, that's for sure, and someone that I think Spurs will be in for once again if we win that Europa League final. Coy is in the comments, says, let's win Europa and dunk on Arsenal. And Ryan South says, hi, Barnaby, how are we feeling for the final? Come on, you Spurs from Melbourne. Thank you for your questions, guys. Please do, if you're watching, get in the comments. Please do press a like if you haven't already. The more likes that we get on this video, the more will get seen by other Spurs fans. How am I feeling for the final, asks Ryan. Well, I'm nervous, mate. I've been a Spurs fan for, 37, 38 years. My experience tells me I shouldn't get excited. I do feel like there's something different this time. I feel like, I don't know how you feel, let me know in the comments, but I feel like amongst the Spurs fan base, amongst the Spurs fraternity, there is a different feeling about this. There is more feeling of genuine hope, like genuine, we could potentially do this rather than like, oh, it's never going to happen. But my experience tells me not to get too excited. But it definitely could happen. We'll see. It definitely could happen. Jay Ashraf in the comments says, hi, Barnaby, could be BS, but a bit concerned with the links to the Ajax boss. A bit too emotional and inexperienced and blew a 9-point lead. I don't doubt that you're suggesting he's emotional because there was a video of him crying after they didn't get the title over the line. PSV won that title race on the last day of the season yesterday. I wasn't aware that they'd blown a 9-point lead. He's quite young, isn't he? I think he's only 38. But he's undoubtedly kind of turned Ajax around. They were definitely in a hole for a season or two before he came in. I will get on to the story because it's linked to the story that Fabio Paratici is looking like very much like he's coming in at Spurs, and he will have a big say on the next manager if indeed Tottenham will have a new manager going into next season. All the reports are that that will be the case, although once again, like I said with Christian Romero, things can change after you win a big trophy. And if we were to get that over the line, then maybe it would change with Ange as well. So let's see. But I will be talking about the manager's job and Fabio Paratici in the sporting director role in a bit. So stick with us for that. Another rumour, Tottenham have stepped up their pursuit of Lyon attacking midfielder Ryan Cherki. The 21-year-old is in the final year of his contract with the French side and could be sold at around 35 million euros. One of the most exciting talents in European football, and he delivered 12 goals and 19 assists across all competition, including 8 assists in the Europa League this season, making the first player in over 20 years to hit that mark in the competition. I've talked for a while about how, in my mind, we've never replaced Christian Eriksen properly, and Ryan Cherki reminds me of a young Eriksen, a proper playmaker, a proper maverick. His creativity and flair were on full display as he led Ligue 1 in expected assisted goals per 90 minutes and ranked among the top for shot-creating actions. And that is why he's on the radar of several top clubs, Manchester United, as well as, of course, like I mentioned, Spurs, but also Liverpool, City, Arsenal, and Chelsea. As I mentioned, his contract runs till 2026, but Lyon do have financial difficulties, and that is why they may look to cash in on him this summer. He can play as an attacking midfielder, a winger, or even up front, offers versatility, and of course has a very high ceiling because he's only a boy still. Let's see what happens with Ryan Cherki. He's one I would get super excited about. As we know, Daniel Levy and Johan Lange and Paratici, if he's back involved, they will be looking at the cheaper transfer market where players are running down their contracts. And with only 1 year left on his contract, that is definitely a possibility for Spurs. And one thing I would say that credits Spurs or benefits Spurs in this kind of situation is you only have to look at what happened with Lucas Bergvall. Made a big signing, made his big signing to Spurs, and then immediately got thrown in the team and grew so quickly, similar to Archie Gray, although his growth has stunted a little bit recently. So someone like Ryan Cherki will look over there and say, well, I could move to a bigger club, maybe a Chelsea, but will I get in the team straight away? Definitely. If I went to Man City or if I went to Liverpool or Man United, would I immediately get in the team? Whereas at Spurs, you see that these youngsters are getting in the team and that they are growing. And hopefully, especially once again, if we manage to win the Europa League, that is something that might persuade some of these young talents to come. Another of which is, of course, Lille forward Jonathan David. Spurs, as well as Napoli, Villa, and Juventus remain in talks to sign him on a free transfer. Of course, he is Lille's Canadian sensation. He's 25, and it's been his most prolific scoring season to date. 25 goals and 12 assists in all competitions, particularly lethal in the Champions League, where he scored 7 goals and 10 assists, had 10 assists in 10 matches, including amazing performances against Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Juventus, and Liverpool. He's been at Lille since 2020 and scored 109 in 233 appearances. That's a really good record for a striker. And he is now the club's third leading scorer, highest scorer of all time. Before he went to France, he was playing for Ghent in Belgium, where he scored 37 goals in 83 appearances. Still an even better goal record back in Belgium. And for the Canadian national team, he scored 37 times in 32 times in 61 caps. And his contract expires June, and he's just told Lille that he will not be staying. So Spurs are interested, as are Napoli, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal, as well as apparently Barcelona. I made a little video that I put on YouTube Shorts. Go and check that out if you haven't already. A funny little video about Jonathan David and Javi Simons. Go and check those out. I'll be releasing a couple more over the course of today where I talk about all of these things. But Jonathan David, he is on a free, and that is one that Spurs, I'm sure, would love to get over the line. He apparently is after a €12 million signing bonus and a gross salary of £10 million, but with no transfer fee, you would like to think that that wouldn't necessarily be a problem. But who knows with Daniel Levy? I think, like I said, it will be a very dependent on whether we win that game on Wednesday night. Okay, that's the transfer talk, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Before I go on to the rest of the news and the Europa League final reports coming out before Wednesday's game, if you haven't already, please do press like on this video. Let's get this seen by as many people as possible and into the suggested videos of as many people on YouTube as possible. Also, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do press subscribe. Really appreciate it down in the bottom right hand corner. And you can also listen to this when you're out, when you're in the car, when you're walking, wherever you are, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. Just type in the Spurred On podcast. Come and find me there. Give me a rating and a comment. Okay, Tom Barkley, reputable journalist, has said once again, Postecoglou is expected to leave Spurs after this season, regardless of the outcome of the Europa League final. And in the same article, Tom Barkley says that Paratici is set for an imminent return. He will have influence on who is the next manager of Spurs, provided that Postecoglou does depart as expected. As we talked about there, one of the managers linked is Ajax's Francesco Farioli. The Italian manager is now in the frame alongside Marco Silva, Iraola from Bournemouth, and Oliver Glasner on the shortlist. Now, for me, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. But for me, Oliver Glasner is the one I would go for first. I think it would be a difficult deal to do with Crystal Palace, but if they show him interest, he's a Europa League winner with Frankfurt. He's now an FA Cup winner with Crystal Palace, and he plays it. He still plays attacking football. He plays on the transitions. It's like Conte, but he's not as defensive as Conte, in my opinion. But also, he's not going to wind up the players and annoy the players and frustrate the players the way that Conte did. So that's why I think Glasner could be a good manager for Spurs. We have good dealings with Germans previously. Think about Jurgen Klinsmann, and he would be top of my list. But let me know how you feel in the comments, guys. Could be, it's all very subjective. Going back to Jonathan David, Robert Yee says in the comments, going by how David ran his contract down, he's probably looking for a major pay rise, 200,000 plus weekly, not happening. Well, don't forget, Robert, We did pay players £200,000 a week up until pretty recently, the likes of Hugo Lloris and Harry Kane. Sonny is definitely on £200,000 a week. So if there's no transfer fee there, there's a higher chance that he might be willing to pay him, he being Daniel Levy, a high amount of wages. So don't rule that one out as far as I'm concerned. Jay Ashraf says in the comments, Glasner or Javi, my preferred managers. Okay, Javi isn't on the shortlist apparently, but maybe he nearly is. And Tribal Scan says Werner is on nearly £200,000, and that is true. Tottenham have confirmed that in the Europa League final, they will wear their home kit. Supporters attending the match in Bilbao have also been encouraged to wear lily white, as they did for that home fixture versus Bodo Glimt. I was at that Champions League final in Madrid, and the Spurs fans really filled it out, and mostly all wore white. So let's get that going again, guys. I just feel like there's a little bit of apathy from Manchester United fans, from the club, in terms of how they're talking about this final. There's a little bit of, oh, we're just